Okay, let's just dive right into this. If you make music today, the news about native instruments, well, it probably hit you pretty hard. This isn't just another company having a tough time. For so many of us, this is about the actual tools we use to create every single day. So today, we're going to cut through all the noise, get to the facts, and build a clear plan.
And that's the absolute truth, isn't it? I mean, this isn't some luxury plugin. We're talking about Kontakt, which is the heart of our project templates, Maschine, the core of how we make beats, and iZotope's tools like RX and Ozone, that's the safety net that makes our stuff sound professional. So yeah, this isn't abstract business news. This feels personal because it's about the very foundation of our creative work.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start with that initial shock. Then we'll separate the facts from the fear. We'll get into the real story behind all this, look at what could happen next, and this is the most important part, I'm going to walk you through a concrete action plan. By the end of this, the goal is for you to have clarity and a sense of control.
Let's get right to the heart of it. Native Instruments GmbH, which is the parent company for NI, iZotope, and Plugin Alliance, has entered what's called preliminary insolvency proceedings. And the questions that immediately pop into your head are totally obvious. Is my work safe? Are my tools going to stop working? Is all the time and money I've invested just gone? Those are completely rational fears, and we are going to tackle them head on.
Now, in moments like this, our first reaction is almost always fear, panic even. But what we're going to do right now is replace that fear with facts. The whole point here is to make calm, smart decisions, not reactive ones that are just driven by what you're seeing on social media.
So this is the crucial point right here. The fear is that everything you own will just vanish overnight. The fact is, this is a legal process designed to restructure the company, not to just pull the plug. Day-to-day operations are continuing. And why is that? It's because the assets, things like Kontakt, iZotope, are incredibly valuable, and keeping them alive is the whole point of the process.
And this definition really spells it out. When we hear the word insolvency or bankruptcy, we think it's a funeral, right? Game over. But this German process, preliminary insolvency, it's not that at all. It's more like putting the company in a protected bubble, giving it a recovery room. A court-appointed administrator comes in to find a path forward that settles the debt while keeping the valuable parts of the business running. And you've got to understand, we're not watching one single domino fall here. It's much more like a complex web. Native Instruments GmbH is the parent company at the center of this, but the whole group is complicated. For example, Plugin Alliance has already come out and said its US and German companies aren't part of these proceedings. So it's really important to see that not every part of this machine is going to be affected in the exact same way. So the big question is, how did we even get here? And it's so important to get this right. This is not a story about bad products. It's not a story about musicians walking away. This is a story about a very specific financial strategy. It's a story about debt. The path to this moment really started a few years back. You'll remember all this, right? In 2021, the big merger with iZotope. Then in 2022, they pulled Plugin Alliance and Brainworx in even tighter. And finally, last year, they dropped the SoundWide name and put everything under the Native Instruments brand. The strategy was clear: build a massive all-in-one platform. And from a business point of view, that makes a lot of sense. And this right here, this is the absolute key to understanding everything. The user demand is strong. We love these tools. We use them every day. The products didn't fail. What cracked was the debt, the financial structure that was built to fuel all that growth and consolidation. When the cost of paying for that debt gets too high, the whole thing cracks. And it doesn't matter how great your software is. Okay, so that's the backstory. That's how we got here. Now for the million-dollar question. Where could this all be going? Let's stop the panicked guessing and look at 4 plausible, realistic scenarios for the future. The first, and honestly the most common outcome for something like this, is a successful restructuring. In this future, the ecosystem we know stays pretty much intact. Now, the change we would probably feel is a heavier push towards subscriptions, maybe some new pricing models, but the core tools we rely on, like Kontakt, would stay stable and supported. It's the most manageable outcome. All right, scenario 2 is a bit more dramatic, a breakup. In this case, the company's most valuable pieces are sold off individually. Let's be real, Kontakt is the crown jewel here. It's an entire ecosystem, and it would almost certainly get snatched up by another company. The future for hardware like Maschine and Traktor, well, that's a bit more uncertain, just because hardware is so much more complicated for a new owner to take on. Now, this third possible future, it's a bit more subtle. You could call it a stealth outcome, because you probably won't see any big, splashy headlines about it. Instead, you just feel this slow, quiet pressure pushing everyone towards subscriptions. Maybe perpetual licenses still exist, but they just become less and less practical. The real risk here is that our workflows slowly become dependent on a monthly payment. Your tool basically turns into a tax.
And finally, there is a really hopeful scenario. A strategic buyer could step in who just gets it. Someone who understands that for musicians and producers, trust and stability are the real currency. This kind of buyer would focus on preserving the products and treating us, the users, like partners, not just accounts to be milked. It's not a guarantee, but it is absolutely plausible.
So, with these different futures swirling around, what do we do? This is the most important part of this whole explainer. This is where we stop worrying and start doing. This is where we turn that anxiety you might be feeling into real, concrete action. Okay, here is your 4-step plan. You can do this today. 1. Secure your access. Log into all your NI, iZotope, and Plugin Alliance accounts. Make sure you have your passwords and download the installers for everything you own. 2. Identify your single points of failure. What's the one tool that if it broke, your whole workflow would crumble? Know an alternative. You don't have to switch, just know that you could. 3. Convert your time into assets. Print your stems, export your presets, archive your sessions, own your output. And 4. Separate headlines from timelines. This is a process that's going to unfold over months, not days, so respond to real signals, not rumors. And taking those steps, it really leads us to the final, and I think the most powerful takeaway from this whole situation. It's about adopting a new mindset that's going to protect you long after this specific crisis is resolved. And that mindset is this: gear is not progress. Progress is finished work. It's the tracks you release, the client projects you deliver, the catalog you're building. Our tools are amazing, but they only exist to support that output. They're not the goal themselves. This is the principle to tattoo on your brain. When you own the outputs of your work, the stems, the presets, the final audio files, you are insulated from all these industry shifts. A change in a tool becomes an inconvenience, not an existential threat to your career. Ownership beats dependency every single time. So I'm going to leave you with this one question to really think about. As you look at your own studio, your own workflow, just ask yourself, is my creative process built on dependency, or is it built on ownership? Your answer to that question will determine your resilience no matter what happens next in the world of music tech.